And this was one of the, permit me to say, this was one of the weakness of God. Oh, does God have weakness? Not like yours. So calm down. It is that God is God. And I don't want to use the word beginning now because he has no beginning. But let me say, whilst he was alone and there was nothing else. Okay? There was once a time in eternity. Oh no, don't want to use the word time. There was once a state when God was alone. He was the only one and there was nothing. So that everything that come to be was because he decided that they should be, so he made them. So he gave beginning to their existence. So the reference point will still be when they started to exist. But before they started existing, God is. I don't want to use God was because if he aids your understanding, God was. But he is, okay? Because he has no beginning, he has no end. He is present at all times. He is. So, at this time when he is or he was and there was nothing else, at this point where he was or when he was the only one that knew that he is God. I'm going somewhere. So, it's almost like there is no good in being something and you are the only one who knows that you are that thing. The beauty of it is for someone else to know. So he alone knew that he was God. There was nothing else to share in the beauty and the glory of who he is and what he is. I'm going to tell you why creation. Because you are, so why did God create everything? It was God all by himself. He knew himself by himself. So the first thing he birthed was he birthed his thoughts. That was the first company he had. Think about it. If I lock you, because you say, oh, so what does that even mean? Look, you can see it in yourself. He created you just like him. If I was to lock you in a room now, in a solitary confinement, what are you left with? Your thoughts. Isn't it? Mm-hmm. It almost looks like you're not two people because have you ever spoken to yourself before? So it feels like it's two people, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Like you are speaking to yourself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. And Jesus said, I was the first of his creation. The firstborn of God. So God gave birth to his thoughts. It was his thoughts. So that was the only companion he had. The same way, if I was to lock you away now, the only companion you will have is yourself. And that yourself is your thoughts. Okay, with you. But still, it was still not good enough because he's thinking, okay, the thought is still his thought. So it's not someone else's thought, it is still his thought. So it is still by himself. So he is powerful, but only he knows it. He is wise, only he knows it. He is great, only he knows it. But he desires for his Godship, his Lordship. And his beauty and power and glory to be known. And that was why he began to create. So he started by creating the angels. But remember I told you, you can never know, so you can study coronavirus all you like, you can never know coronavirus like a coronavirus cousin will know coronavirus. So in other words, you know they say there's a new strain of coronavirus. Okay, so it's almost like there's now two out there. There is the original one and there is the mutated one. You see, the mutated coronavirus knows the original coronavirus. They know themselves. Mm-hmm. Why? Because it's a strain of the same thing, isn't it? Mm. They are the same thing. They are the same species. They are the same virus. So they know themselves. And so even though 10 people can be infected by the same coronavirus, but it is not the same particular physical virus that infected them, isn't it? Mm. So if they were to remove the virus in Mr. A and remove the virus in Mr. B, the two viruses can communicate. Because they are both viruses. And they are both of the same species. In the same family. Just the same way a cat can communicate to a cat. A lion will communicate to a lion. So when I said God's weakness, it is not a weakness in terms of what you define in your Oxford Dictionary as weak. It is that he was in a state where he needed more. He needed to do something. He wants to manifest himself, and he wants to do it to something almost other than himself, so that he can, because God is love, and love is to give and to receive. And at this point, only God exists. So he didn't have something to share his love with. So he desired to express himself. Think about this. If you train soldiers to learn about warfare, they become eager to go to war. If you are an artist, you know that your artistry is an expression of a desire. You just want to draw something. If you have music trapped on the inside of you, you just want to sing. You just want to sing. If you are a dancer, you just want to dance. Everything to you is dance. The only way you can express yourself is dancing. And when you dance, you feel fulfilled, like, whew, let's let out some steam right there. If you are a talker, you just want to talk. You just want to talk. And because God is God, he just wants to God. He is love. He just wants to love. So he began creation. And he created angels. But angels were not good enough. They could not relate with him on his God level because they were created things. They were less than him. They couldn't come to where he is. They couldn't understand him. They were created. So what they can understand is limited because it is given to them. And because they were not created as God, they could never have God kind of understanding. They can only have angel kind of understanding because they are angels. And then eventually, God. So that was what gave birth to Genesis chapter 1 verse 26. Let us make man. Okay. So God had not realized that, okay, I want to create a city. I want to create a nation. I want to create my nation. And I want to create subjects. I want to create beings that I can, through which I can express all that is captured on the inside of me. What makes me God? I want to be able to show love, show mercy, and show kindness, and demonstrate power, and rule and govern. For I am God. And the same way someone who feels they're talented with music will just not stop at anything until they've given expression to that music. In the same way, God wouldn't stop until he has given expression to everything that is on the inside of him that makes him God. And among all his creation, it will fascinate you to know that you, humans, you, the child of God, you are the chief of God's creation. Created and fashioned perfectly to interact in the level that he wants to interact. That's beautiful, isn't it? You are, so what is the perfect thing that can relate with God? You. That was the business case. That was the whole essence for your creation. It is that God will be able to have, at last, someone that he can relate with. Someone that he can relate with. And that someone has to be like him in order to even be able to understand and perceive and relate with him.